CBC News, Canada Now.
From Here and Now in St. John's, I'm Karl Wells. Tonight, Air Canada will charge its customers more to travel, and the airline is laying off staff. And it's been a great year for the retail business in St. John's.
Here you go. Thank you.
I'm Ian Hannamansing in Vancouver. Heading home, Canadians jam airports while Air Canada prepares to cut jobs and raise fares.
It's crazy.
Mystery solved. The Russians reveal the fate of Raoul Wallenberg.
And on Life Journeys with Azzo Rezori, we'll journey with a family from Mount Carmel. They're dealing with the loss of a son and a brother whose body was never found. But first, our top story. It's not quite the Grinch who stole Christmas, but it's close. After months of promising better service and competitive fares, Air Canada is raising ticket prices and laying off staff. Yesterday, the airline announced a fare hike of 6% and layoffs of 3,500 staff across the country. Today, passengers in St. John's Airport were grumbling.
How do I feel about it? I think it's a rip-off.
Well, I don't think it's very fair, that's for sure. Not to the people traveling.
Well, we don't have a whole lot of choice, but, you know, something got to be done or we're just going to travel different airlines.
In the past few months, Air Canada has had hundreds of complaints about delays and shoddy service. Today was no exception.
Well, we're not happy because we landed in Newfoundland last Friday. We still don't have luggage. And we had 7 hours delay in Edmonton. We were supposed to have 4.
They'll definitely lose customers. I won't fly with them anymore.
We lost a dog.
7 days without any clothes at all.
We'll have the latest on the Air Canada situation in the next half hour on Canada Now. The Newfoundland and Labrador Liberal Party has tossed out the executive officers from 6 Liberal districts. CBC News has learned that there were problems with the way some of them were appointed. Now the districts will have to re-elect their executives. The associations affected are Bellevue, Cartwright-L'Anse-Eau Claire, Fortune Bay, Cape Lejeune, St. Barb, St. George's Stephenville East, and Twillingate and Fogo. The ruling could have an effect on the ongoing Liberal leadership race. Carolyn Dunn is here to explain why.
Carl, the ruling comes as a result of an appeal by the Paul Dix leadership campaign. They had argued that some of the executive in the 6 districts you just mentioned had been appointed after the June 30th deadline set out by the Liberal Party. Now, an appeals committee agreed with that, saying that some of the appointments were against the party's own constitution, and so those executives have been overturned. Really what it is a technicality, but it could have a dramatic effect on the leadership race. Here's why. Those 6 districts will now have to re-elect their entire executives. Each one of those executives will automatically become a delegate at the leadership convention. Each one will have a vote for the new leader of the party and premier of the province. Obviously, every one of the candidates in this race, all 3 of them, want those votes. So I'm told that they're all going to be working double time over this Christmas break, trying to get their supporters to run and indeed win those executive positions and win those votes. Carl?
Thank you, Carolyn. That was our Carolyn Dunn. An NDP candidate in last month's federal election is going to enter provincial politics, but there's a twist. He's going to switch parties. Trevor Taylor has announced he's seeking the Tory nomination in Straits White Bay North. It's the seat that was held by former Premier Brian Tobin. Taylor says that provincially, it's through the PCs that he can turn the area around. As an NDP candidate in the federal election, Taylor finished a strong second in the riding of Humber-St. Barb-Bayburt. Workers at the Marystown shipyard are getting some Christmas cheer. The yard has landed a major contract that will mean jobs for the area. Shipyard owners have signed a deal to help convert a semi-submersible drill rig. Marystown will make some of the parts needed. The place has been virtually shut down because of a lack of orders recently. Steel workers will be rehired in January. Their union says the news could not come at a better time. Police in Rigolette are investigating an oil spill. Sometime Tuesday night, 32,000 liters of furnace oil was pumped onto the ground at a local fuel depot. The RCMP say the operator of the depot left a gas valve on. That allowed vandals to switch on a gas nozzle. The Provincial Environment Department oversaw a cleanup of the site yesterday. Snow and frozen ground allowed most of the oil to be recovered. Sentencing of a man who was shot by police in St. John's last summer has been set over to early next year. Jody Crane pleaded guilty to 11 offenses, including assault and threatening people with a weapon. Crane was shot in the hip by police after charging at them with a knife. What to do about vandalism? It's a question every town has to deal with. In Pasadena, they're trying something a bit different. Doug Greer has the story.
Consider yourself warned. In Pasadena, the cameras are watching. That's a $500 light Mayor Derek Simmons has got there, beaten off the recreation center.
It's more of the nuisance items of vandalism than it is the major destruction.
Still, the flagpole had to be straightened after vandals bent it over. Every year, vandals steal lights off the Christmas tree. And of course, there's always broken glass. One camera is set up at the town hall. Another is moved from place to place. The town's also offering a $500 reward for turning in vandals. And Simmons wants the schools to teach about the foolishness of vandals.
These people are not heroes. They're not doing anything for the community. They're not doing anything for themselves. And by steering the other kids in the right direction, hopefully we'll curb the vandalism.
So far, it's working. No damage in the week or so since the cameras went up.
I think we need more of that.
Well, theoretically, it's a good idea, but I have a feeling that it's just something else for them to destroy. I think it'd be much better if they had some foot patrols, actual people to walk around and keep an eye on things. Because if they have expensive camera equipment, those who are going to destroy things will find a way to destroy them.
Mayor Simmons says everybody knows who the vandals are. The problem is proving it. He says the surveillance cameras will either provide the proof or scare the vandals off from their cowardly acts. Doug Greer, CBC News, Pasadena.
Memorial Stadium has been sold to a developer who is interested in building a supermarket on the site. The 50-year-old landmark sold for $2.8 million. The new owner is the Discovery Group. Completion of the deal hinges on whether they can get the site rezoned. Speculation is that the group wants to tear down the stadium and replace skating with shopping. But not much is being said about the proposed supermarket complex. There's also been speculation about condominiums. The Papermakers Union in Grand Falls, Windsor is concerned about Abitibi Consolidated's plans to run the mill during Christmas. The company said this year the mill would keep making paper over the Christmas holidays for the first time ever. Abitibi spokesman Roger Pike says the company believed enough workers had volunteered to work on the holidays. But the Communications, Energy and Paper Workers Union says that's not true, and it's meeting with its members tonight to confirm how many people want to work. Pike says the company will wait to hear back from the union before deciding whether to shut the mill on Christmas Eve. Well, if you're in the retail business, this is the time. Today and tomorrow are expected to be the biggest spending days of the year. Last-minute shoppers flooded the Avalon Mall in St. John's looking for just the right gift to complete their list. The St. John's Board of Trade is reporting excellent sales this Christmas. The board surveyed its members. 83% reported sales either as good or better than last year. It says clothing sales lead the way. There are only 2.5 shopping days before the big day. Police are bracing for one of the busiest weekends on the highway. They're warning travelers to slow down and not drink and drive. In Gander today, Santa showed up at one roadside checkpoint, only to be called to the scene of an accident.
How are you going?
Involving 3 vehicles. We're here on scene. Paul and myself are handling the traffic. The fire department's been called for the job.
Okay, 10-4, 10-17.
Police say there's so much traffic, accidents are bound to happen.
This is the time of the year that it's very busy. A lot of traffic going to and fro, all different communities. And this is an example. Again, this is not a major serious accident as we can see right now at all indications, but there's a lot of traffic flow in the communities and on the highways. And it just shows that people are trying to get to and fro, and an accident can happen.
In St. John's, the Royal Newfoundland Constabulary is also monitoring traffic. Police say 6 impaired drivers were caught last night, and they expect tonight to be busy as well. Still to come on Here and Now. A young Newfoundland soldier is dead after a boating accident in Ontario. His body was never found. Azzo Rezori takes us on a life journey to Mount Carmel.
On November the 9th, early in the afternoon, Corporal Paul Grace and two buddies left Kingston in a 14-foot fiberglass boat and went duck hunting on Lake Ontario. They ran into heavy weather and never came back. Searchers found the swamp boat and recovered two bodies about 600 feet away from an island, but Corporal Grace is still missing. Earlier this week, his Newfoundland family held a memorial service for him in Mount Carmel, where he grew up. In a way, it was like tying a knot without the string. The memories are as fresh as yesterday. The phone calls, the initial panic, and then the grim determination. This can't be.
I phoned a few other family members and I told the story like, guys, this is no big deal. He's on land somewhere. This is Paul.
Our first thought was our mom. So nobody wanted to tell her by themselves. So we said, let's meet at Mom's. Nobody go in until we're all there. I'm sitting here now going through hell and thinking that Paul is going through hell. And I'm going to go in and Mom's going to be on the phone with him.
Corporal Grace and his two buddies made 4 calls from their boat. 2 to remind friends in Kingston to put on the roast. The last 2 to say they were in trouble. The waves were coming up and they needed help.
I was getting ready to go to Ontario the next morning, and he had planned to go to a hockey game. Went to Kingston and was there when they found his 2 buddies in the water.
It was then, even more so, well, Paul is he's not in the water. Paul is safe, they just can't find him.
Finding some way of surviving, whether it was finding rabbits on the island or
finding a farmhouse.
Yeah.
And then when we'd come up with one scenario, the OPP or the military would give us evidence that kind of would squash that theory, and then we quickly come up with another one.
Paul was the 4th youngest of 12 children and the youngest of the boys.
Competitive, very competitive, because he was always smaller than the rest of us.
Full of love, but broody, and the family suck.
If there was a disagreement, you couldn't really get away outside of going out to the shed. And he would go there sometimes.
He joined the Canadian Forces at the age of 23, served in the Gulf War, last stationed in Kingston, an army cook, but at heart a chef. The army helped him shed the skin of the sook and take his place in the world as the life of the party.
When he was with us, he wanted to have fun, he wanted to sing songs. He just wanted to be with us.
He wanted to cook.
Yeah, and he wanted to tell you how to cook.
He loved to cook. If he put out a call for a family gathering, for a meal, and you didn't show up, well, he called and called and called, and you basically had to go.
In the name of the Father, the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, amen. We commend our brother Paul to the mercy of God.
Paul loved the shoreline around Mount Carmel, and that's the place they chose, his family, his friends, his community, to send something they could associate with him on its way, and to go with him to some place that needed to be revisited.
One place I go is when he was home this summer in our meadow, and he hugged me.
How scared was he? What were his last thoughts? Did he think, you know, that we would try to find him? Was he thinking of his children, his wife, his mom, us?
And then comes the time when you must make your commitment to moving on, no matter where Paul may be. You do it, and yet...
I guess when you are laughing and joking, and we all have to do it in order to go on, but sometimes I feel guilty. Angela, Paul's wife Angela, and the 2 boys did not come home for the service that we had for Paul. She cannot bring herself to come home to Newfoundland without Paul. The boys have been told what has happened, and they pray every day, every night, that Daddy comes home. Now they're praying for a miracle, and they have questions about why they can't have a miracle.
There's always that empty feeling there.
And even now, if phone rings, you know, is that the call?
Mom says that she will always be looking over her shoulder. And she did get some closure from Sunday and Monday's celebration. But she said to me today that she will always be looking for him.
And Azzo will take us on another life journey later in the season. We'll be back with feedback, weather, and rearview mirror after this. It's time now for the weather, and it's the all-important Christmas weekend weather, and I think we can promise you a little bit of the white stuff for Christmas. First, we go to our systems map. In Labrador today, it was generally cloudy, got up to -12 for Upper Lake Melville, and for Newfoundland, some sunny periods with -2 in Corner Brook. Now, we've got a low in the southwest, which is moving in. This is going to start to give snow to Newfoundland overnight, and then it's going to continue snowing for much of tomorrow for most of Newfoundland and Labrador. So we'll all get a little bit of the Christmas white stuff. In your forecast then for the island for tonight, for the northern and Bay Verde Peninsula and the west coast, it's going to be cloudy with some snow for the southern part of that section. For the rest of the island, it's going to be cloudy with snow kicking in overnight. Temperatures ranging from -4 in the south to about -10 in the north. For the island tomorrow, for the south coast and Avalon, it's going to be a mix of snow and rain in the morning and cloudy thereafter in the afternoon. For the rest of the island, it'll be snow. Strong easterlies tomorrow, and they'll gust to about 70 kilometers an hour. Temperatures ranging from -5 inland up to as high as +4 in the southeast. For Labrador tonight, for Labrador West, it'll be flurries, likewise for Nain down as far as Grosswater Bay. For the rest of Labrador, though, it'll be clearing, cloudy periods just. -23 in Labrador West, -20 for Upper Lake Melville. For Labrador tomorrow, we're looking at generally cloudy with flurries for most of Labrador, although Churchill Falls and the northern part of Labrador may see some sunny breaks. -19 in Labrador West, -14 for Upper Lake Melville, around -6 on the coast. And in your 3-day outlook for the island. For Christmas Eve, Sunday, flurries -4, Christmas Day, Monday, sunny periods -4, and Tuesday, Boxing Day flurries -4. And in your 3-day for Labrador, Christmas Eve, we're looking at flurries -10. On Christmas Day, Monday, periods of snow, the range from -14 to -4. And for Boxing Day, Tuesday, flurries and temperatures from -8 to -2. And that's the weather story. Well, it's time for our feature Rearview Mirror. And before we roll it tonight, I want to warn you, you may want to avert your eyes during the Jack Nicholson segment, so you've been forewarned. Here's what was happening this week in 1974. There was lots of fireworks on Confederation Hill this week as 2 Liberal MHAs got themselves thrown out of the House of Assembly. Hermitage MHA Roger Simmons went first by calling crazy a ruling by Speaker James Russell. Then opposition leader Ed Roberts got the flick for 3 days for saying the Speaker had been partial in his rulings. This woman likes to party, and party she did this week Mayor Dorothy Wyatt threw a bash for senior citizens. Thousands showed up for the live entertainment and refreshments. Attention Kmart shoppers. Here's a gift idea for her this Christmas. A Lady Phillips home beauty salon, complete with a Lady Phillips shaver and 13 grooming accessories, all for the low price of $21.44. Take a stroll down Water Street to McMurdo's and you'll find the perfect stocking stuffer for him. A new aftershave called High Karate. But be careful how you use it. Use too much and you can find yourself in a tight squeeze. A well-groomed theater goer or not so well-groomed might be found this week at Munn's Little Theater for Codco's Sickness, Death and Beyond the Grave, fresh from their successful Toronto run. On late-night television this week, viewers are being treated to sneak previews of a new NFB film.
You're throwing all these generalities, Mike. It is not true. You're talking 11, 12, 13, 14-year-old children in factories.
Waiting for Fidel features Joey Smallwood and Jeff Sterling as they draw different conclusions about communism, Cuban style, while waiting to interview Fidel. And at the movies, Jack Nicholson gets a nose job the hard way in Roman Polanski's classic Chinatown.
They lose their noses.
And that's the way it was this week in 1974. I warned you. We have some anniversaries now before we go. Happy anniversary to Olive and Gordon Stagg of Cornerbrook, who celebrated their 50th on December 15th. Congratulations as well to Louis and Ethel Greenham of Twillingate, who celebrated their 56th on December 13th. Congratulations Manuel and Laura Sutton of Victoria, who are celebrating their 66th today. Happy anniversary as well to Edward and Lita Cuff of Carmenville, who celebrated their 60th on December 21st. And a big happy birthday, Philomena O'Brien of Lansaloo, who celebrated her 90th on the 12th. And happy birthday to Maria Dolly Carter of Botwood, who celebrated her 90th on the 15th. Here's Ian Hannamensing.